Hi, this is an overview of the Canon EOS 20D digital camera. It's quite an old camera as it was launched in 2004, but it's also potentially quite a cheap way to get into SLR photography. And here's the digital camera up close. With this one here I've attached a Canon 28 to 105mm lens on the front. As I mentioned, it was launched in 2004, so it's been around a while, this camera. It's 8 megapixels. The actual sensor type is cropped as opposed to, say, a full frame sensor which you'd get with the more expensive digital camera. With a cropped sensor, basically when you take a picture, the extremities of the image which you see when you look through the viewfinder will not be recorded. So if you want to take a picture and you want it to take exactly what you see through the viewfinder, you'd have to go for a full frame camera, and those are typically more expensive. The camera itself has 9 focusing elements and it weighs 685 grams. The lens mount on the camera will accept both EF and EFS lenses. And the actual storage medium is CompactFlash, and there's a little door on the side here which you flick up and the CompactFlash card goes in there. So the 20D itself is primarily a metal body construction, which is an advantage over some of the cheaper models that are available. The ISO range with this camera ranges from 100 up to 3200. On the back you've got a 1.8-inch LCD screen, smaller than most conventional cameras these days, and in continuous shooting mode the 20D will take up to 5 frames a second. To go into a bit more detail about the various buttons on the 20D, you have your typical select buttons at the top for changing, say, the ISO level or your white balance. You have a slider wheel at the front, very useful. I use that particularly when I'm looking through the viewfinder and I want to change one of the focusing elements. You use the slider wheel on the front in connection with one of the buttons on the back. On the back of the camera you've got more select buttons. You can zoom in and out of your images when you're looking through the LCD screen. You have a wheel at the back for selecting different modes. Now with the cheaper digital cameras you don't necessarily get this sort of wheel, you get like a cursor thing, which I find to be a bit more fiddly. I personally prefer using a slider wheel. A joystick which allows you to scroll through the images that you've taken. Further buttons on the left hand side here. These are mostly used for navigating through the menu. If I turn the menu on, there you go, you have the menu at the back and there's plenty of different settings you can change, and you typically use buttons here in connection with the slider wheel. On off button at the back, delete images, your standard select wheel at the top for choosing your different shooting modes. Flash, so that releases the flash catch at the top, your lens release at the side, and then if you open up this little panel here, that gives you the places where you can actually connect the camera into, say, your computer. It uses a mini USB cable. In terms of price, the Canon 20D is pretty cheap these days. You can pick one up second hand, probably in the range of £150 to £200. I bought this one myself a few years ago and it cost £175, and the price really hasn't changed that much since then. The older version, which is the Canon 10D, naturally you can pick it up slightly cheaper, but it's not that much cheaper, to be honest. And the newer version, which is the Canon 30D, is quite a bit more expensive, and you're probably talking between £200 and £300. So if it was a choice out of those three, I would probably try and go for the 20D when you consider the capabilities of the camera and how much it costs. If I wanted a more recent version, I'd probably skip the 30D and go for the 40D instead, as that's got 10 megapixel resolution, or go for a full frame digital camera like, say, one of the original Canon 5D versions. So overall I think the 20D is a very good camera. I've had it for a number of years and I've thoroughly enjoyed using it. It takes good quality pictures, and I think overall it's a cheap way to get into SLR photography if you don't want to fork out the extra money and get the most up-to-date camera available. So yeah, there we go. I hope you've enjoyed my overview of the Canon 20D, and if you'd like to check out more reviews you can go onto my YouTube channel, which is SLR Lens. Thanks.